Most people over 60 are not losing muscle because they are lazy. They are losing muscle because, quietly, their body is being underfed in the one area that matters most. And the scary part is this. It does not happen in a dramatic way. It happens slowly. A little less strength here, a little more effort there. The chair feels lower, the stairs feel steeper. The legs do not respond the way they used to, and before long, people start blaming age itself. But age is not the whole story, because there is one very common eating mistake that makes this problem worse. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Most people think muscle loss after 60 is only about getting older. But the real issue is that the body becomes less forgiving when protein intake is too low, and that makes it harder to hold on to strength the way it used to. So if you have been wondering why some people seem to weaken faster than others, the answer is not always in the mirror. Sometimes it is in the plate. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the fix is not always expensive. It is not always a fancy supplement. It is not always some complicated fitness routine. Sometimes the thing that helps most is a cheap food that people have been overlooking for years. And in this video, I want to show you exactly why it matters. But first, let us slow down and understand the real problem. After 60, the body does not always use food the same way it did before. That means a meal that once felt enough may no longer give the same support to your muscles. So even if someone is eating regularly, they may still not be giving the body what it needs to protect strength. That is why some people can eat all day and still feel weaker over time. They are full, but they are not necessarily supported. And that is a big difference. Because muscle is not just about looking strong. It helps with balance, it helps with movement, it helps with independence, it helps with the kind of energy that makes everyday life feel easier instead of harder. That is why this topic matters so much. And yet, so many people overcomplicate it. They look for a miracle food. They look for a miracle drink. They look for the one perfect trick that will solve everything overnight. But the body usually does not work like that. What it responds to is consistency. It responds to giving it the right building blocks again and again. And one of the most practical building blocks is protein. Not just a little protein. Enough protein. Because when protein intake is too low, the body has a harder time maintaining muscle as it ages. That is why nutrition becomes such a big deal later in life. Not because people need to eat perfectly, but because they need to eat with purpose. And this is where the cheap food comes in. Because the food I want to talk about is not glamorous. It is not trending on social media. It is not one of those foods people brag about in expensive health stores. In fact, many people already have it in their kitchen or can buy it very cheaply at the market. The food is beans. Yes, beans, simple, affordable, familiar, and that is exactly why people overlook them. Beans are not exciting, but they are useful. They give the body plant protein. They are filling. They are easy to pair with other foods, and they can help older adults build meals that are more supportive without making food expensive. That matters, because when something is affordable, people can actually keep eating it. And when something is repeatable, it becomes powerful. Beans are one of those foods that can quietly help close the gap between I am eating and I am actually supporting my muscles. That is the difference, because after 60, the goal is not to turn every meal into a science project. The goal is to make better eating simple enough that it sticks, and beans make that easier. They can be added to soup, they can be paired with rice, they can be combined with fish, they can be included in stews. They can even show up at breakfast in some homes without making the meal feel heavy or complicated. So instead of asking, what is the most expensive food I can buy? A better question is, what is a cheap, practical food that helps me stay strong? That is a smarter way to think, and beans fit that question very well. They are not the only useful food, of course, but they are one of the easiest places to start when someone wants to eat in a way that supports muscle without stretching the budget. And that is why this conversation is so important. Because a lot of people think healthy eating has to be expensive. It does not. It has to be consistent, it has to be realistic, and it has to give the body what it needs to keep going. That is the real secret. Not magic, not hype, just simple foods used the right way. And in a moment, I will show you exactly how people can use beans in a way that makes sense for everyday life, without making meals boring or complicated. Because the biggest mistake is not just eating too little protein. Sometimes, the biggest mistake is not realizing that a cheap food in front of you could be doing far more than you think. That is where the real shift begins. Because once people understand that beans can help support muscle, the next question is simple. How do you actually use them in real life? Not in theory, not in some perfect meal plan that nobody follows. In real life. The easiest way is to stop thinking of beans as a side dish and start seeing them as a foundation. That means adding them to meals often enough that they actually become part of the routine. A bowl of beans with vegetables. Beans mixed into soup. Beans with fish. Beans with rice. Beans with eggs. Beans added to stew. Nothing fancy. Nothing stressful. Just simple meals that help the body get more of what it needs. That matters because after 60, the biggest win is not extreme change. It is steady change. Small meals done consistently can matter far more than a perfect plan that lasts only 3 days. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They think they need to eat in a dramatic way to see results, so they either overdo it or they give up quickly. But the body responds better to repeatable habits. That is especially true when the goal is to support muscle over time. So if someone wants to make a cheap food work for them, the first step is simple. Use it regularly, not once in a while. Regularly, because consistency is what turns an ordinary food into a useful habit. Now, there is another mistake that people make. They eat beans, but they eat them alone all the time and expect that to solve everything. That is not the point. The point is to use beans as part of a broader eating pattern that gives the body enough support across the day. That might mean combining them with other protein foods when possible. That might mean using them in meals that also include vegetables and healthy staples. That might mean balancing them with movement, because movement tells the body to keep the muscle it has. Food gives the building blocks. Movement gives the signal. That is why both matter. And if you are over 60, this idea becomes even more important. Because strength is not only about looking fit, it is about staying independent. It is about getting up without struggling. It is about walking with more confidence. It is about carrying groceries. It is about having the energy to enjoy ordinary life without feeling weak too quickly. That is what muscle supports. And that is why this food matters so much. Beans do not solve everything, but they can make a real difference because they are affordable, flexible, and easy to bring into everyday meals. That combination is powerful. Affordable means you can keep buying them. Flexible means you can cook them in different ways. Easy means you are more likely to stick with them. And when a food has all three, it becomes much more useful than people realize. Now, let us talk about another reason beans are so valuable. A lot of people over 60 do not just need more protein. They also need meals that are satisfying enough to help them avoid constant snacking or skipping meals later. Beans help with that too, because they are filling. That can make it easier to build regular eating habits without feeling deprived. And that is important because the body does better when it is fed consistently, not randomly. So instead of chasing expensive trends, a smarter move is to focus on cheap, dependable foods that can actually become part of daily life. That is how lasting progress usually happens. Not through hype, through repetition. And if you want to keep this simple, here's the mindset. Do not try to overhaul everything at once. Just add one strong habit, one bowl, one meal, one repeatable choice. That may not sound dramatic, but it is often how real change starts. Because the truth is, most people do not fail from lack of effort. They fail from trying to do too much at once. So, keep it easy, keep it realistic, and keep it going. Now, before we finish, there is one more important point. Beans are helpful, but they work best when the rest of the lifestyle is not working against you. That means staying as active as you safely can. It means not undereating for long periods. It means paying attention to your appetite and your energy. It means making meals matter. Because if someone keeps eating in a way that leaves them underfed, even the best food will only help so much. The goal is support, not perfection. Support. That is the word to remember. Support the muscles, support the body, support the routine, and over time, those small choices can help people feel stronger, steadier, and more confident in daily life. So let us bring it all together. After 60, muscle loss can speed up when the body is not getting enough of the right nutrition. That does not mean aging is hopeless. It means the body needs better support than many people realize. And one cheap food that can help is beans. Not because they are magical, because they are practical. They are affordable. They are easy to use. And they can help older adults build meals that are more supportive of strength. That is the real message here. You do not always need something expensive. You need something sustainable. Something simple. Something you can actually keep doing. And that is why beans deserve more attention than they usually get. Because sometimes the best health change is not the flashy one. It is the one that quietly fits into your life and helps you keep going. And that is exactly the kind of change that matters most after 60. Thanks for watching True Health Tales. If this helped you, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next truth.